Good whenever, everybody, and welcome to the Wrinkled Tie and Shirt Man featuring Desk Amazing Information Challenge. I'm your host, the news entity, and it's news o'clock on the TV time. And here we go. The President of the United States recently addressed the nation in what can only be described as too close to his face. Between slurped breaths, the president, in a truly presidential turn, spoke words that he read from a screen in front of him. Like me. The speech, which the president privately lamented was useless and something he did not want to do, was an attempt to reiterate every demagogic talking point he waxes maniacally about at his traveling dark carnival, but this time spoken softly, carrying a big sniff. The topic, of course, was the ongoing and very real border crisis. Do we have a clip? Actually, let's back up, exciting though words on a screen may be, because the alleged border crisis is the reason behind another news, the government shutdown. So, here's a news. The United States government has shut down, furloughing 800,000 government employees, and as of this current day, January 12th, the year of our Lord 2019, it became the longest government shutdown in history. So, congratulations, buddy. You did it. You tried last year, but you couldn't even make it last half a week with that shutdown, you lazy galoot. But you didn't give up, and you shut down the government for a record amount of time, like a fine-tuned machine. Yes, of course. But before we really get into what the shutdown is about and what we can do about it, it's important to know, who should we blame? Now, the president might say, Democrats in Congress, despite saying very recently on camera in front of everybody that he would accept all of the blame. So I guess let's investigate and see how we got here and whose fault it is and why this is all happening. That's right, it's prequel time. 4 years ago, a glorious man descended from the heavens, and he said that he was going to fix everything, and he was going to protect us from the dangers by building a great wall, and that great wall would protect everybody from the dangers, which are Mexicans, who were being sent by a foreign country to rape and murder and sell drugs. He assumed some probably aren't rapists, but there you have it. And then some time passed, and that guy became a president and said his magic wall was going to be paid for by Mexico, and then in a private phone conversation begged the president of Mexico to not tell anybody that obviously he's not going to pay for the wall. But, you know, as the president said recently, flash forward, Mexico's going to pay. I didn't say they're going to write me a check for 20 billion or 10 billion. Or, as the president said before that, flashback. They may even write us a check. But now there's a crisis, and we need the wall, and the Democrats are obstructing what we need to do. The wall idea, and it's their fault there's a shutdown. Because as the president literally said when he was asked if the buck stopped with him, the buck stops with everybody. And nobody followed up with, but you're the president, man. But as Congressman, former admin of a conspiracy theory neo-Nazi Facebook page, veteran and SNL funny man Dan Crenshaw points out, in an alternate universe where Republicans still held the House, the government would be open, federal workers would have their paychecks, and Border Patrol would have the funding and tools they need. Just something to think about. Yes, just another great zinger from comedian Dan Crenshaw. The joke being that the shutdown started when Republicans still had control of both houses, after 2 years of having control of both houses and doing nothing, and when bipartisan bills to reopen the government and then negotiate on border security come up, human, if I'm being nice, being Mitch McConnell said, quote, "The president won't sign off," something that does not need to happen for that to happen. But anyway, look, pal, who can tell who is to blame for manufacturing some sort of fake crisis? It's impossible. This concludes a really good prequel. So enough build-up. let's finally get to the build-up to the president's first address from the Oval Office to the nation. Because once it was announced, hoo boy, did the networks and media have just a real tough time deciding what to do. Should they not air it? Something they chose to do in 2014 when Obama wanted to address the nation on immigration, a similar topic. Or maybe they should just air it live, even though the president is a compulsive liar who lies, especially about this kind of stuff. Or like, should we put it on a delay and fact check him? You know, give him Pinocchios or oopsie doopers or 4.5 fibby whoppers. The worst number of fibby whoppers one can get. CNN funny man Brian Stelter shared his concerns, asking, you know, he's the president, his words are important, even though the president doesn't even think his own words are important. But what do we do as the media? How do we cover Donald Trump? Which brings us to our new game show, What Year Is It? Buzz, 2015? Dang. Yes, the president wanted to say something to the nation, and so he sent out a bunch of fundraisers before and after his speech to get that money. And the media were scared of saying yes, because he's just gonna lie, and probably not say anything new or special, but rather just sort of recite his rally talking points. The media were also scared of saying no, though, because then he'd just call them fake news. Something he literally did mere hours before the network struggled with this decision. Damned if you do, damned if you don't, so just let 'em was their decision, as long as Mummy and Pooh-Paw get to hop in their one-seater to give everyone a polite talking to afterwards. And the result was absolutely nothing new, and just a series of provable lies and a few descriptions of gruesome murders. But that's not fair, all right? And if we're anything at Cody's Shody, it's fair, and it's balanced, and it's TM, and it's C, and it's R. So let's let him speak for himself.
Tonight I am speaking to you.
Okay. Speaking, fun, all right. What else does the president have to, actually one more time.
Tonight I am speaking to you.
Okay. What else does the president have to say?
Growing humanitarian and security crisis.
Okay, well, before we move on, it's important to understand what the president means by humanitarian. Just this morning, he tweeted a lot and said this was a humanitarian crisis again. So briefly, the word humanitarian as understood by Donald J. Trump. In his old vlog that he deleted but someone still has, the president said he should invade Libya. And real quick tangent, so unlike me, I know. We should invade Libya is something Trump repeatedly claimed he never said at Republican debates, and nobody was like able to show it to him, to his face, and point to his face with a video of his face and illustrate to his face that he was lying. Now, there's a long, ever-growing list of his lies. He's a liar. And at this point, you can call him one, instead of twisting in the wind, struggling how to report and fact-check him. How about instead of, Donald Trump claims X, and then you click on the article, and it says Donald Trump claimed X this morning, but this statement is misleading and potentially false. We are unsure where he got this information, and we have thus given the president 4.5 goopsie dupes, the worst number of goopsie dupes one can receive. How about instead of that, your headline says, Donald Trump, a compulsive liar, lied about X. You think he's going to sue you for calling him a liar, something that he is easily and frequently proven to be? God, you're useless. Anyway, back to his easily verifiable lie that he never said we should go into Libya. He actually did say it, and he said we should go in on a humanitarian basis, and when we're done saving the people, we should take half of their oil as payment for the humanitarian crisis. You know how the promotion of human welfare usually involves payment of a precious resource by a devastated nation in chaos? Yeah, you know. But surely the president, a compulsive liar and dumb man, cares about humanitarian crises and even knows what those words mean. Surely morphing build a wall to keep out the Mexican rapists into build a wall to keep out the asylum-seeking families is indicative of a humanitarian. And apropos of nothing, Here's a news. The president, a liar, whose company stole money from a child cancer charity, who cut off his nephew's desperately needed health care out of spite, who supports torture and taking out terrorists' families, who seems to be super cool with helping to exacerbate the humanitarian crisis in Yemen, who knowingly lies about climate change despite, here's some news, the oceans are warming 40% faster than originally thought, who shut down the government in order to blame other people, causing hundreds of thousands of furloughs, damaging our national parks, causing problems for those on food assistance, stopping the FDA from inspecting food weeks after the country's lettuce was found to be contaminated, a man who, in order to pay for the wall to keep out asylum-seeking families, or rapists, it's unclear, is considering taking money from disaster relief, something we've needed more and more of due to that climate change I just mentioned. Well, he was asked by Chuck Schumer, seen here disappointed that you got home after curfew, "You're using people as leverage. Why won't you open the government and stop hurting people?" And the humanitarian answered, "Because then you won't give me what I want."
We have a president that doesn't give a damn about inconveniencing people.
But anywho, the president is concerned. And so finally, we're here. And here is some news. Border crisis! Okay, stop. Don't worry, I'm not gonna make you read all that. What do I think you are, a president? But according to the president and his speech, there is a border crisis, which is somehow also the cause of the opioid crisis. Damn you immigrants and your being pharmaceutical companies. Now, I'm not going to show you his actual speech because, as I said, the networks got duped into thinking the president, a dumb man and liar, had anything new to say. But they ended up just airing one of his bizarre rallies. But like, the presidential version. Even the president chimed in with his own review, saying, "Cute presidential address, might delete later." But no, there was nothing new. So, in regards to the border crisis and the president's anecdotal tales of gruesome murders, the truth is, legal and illegal immigrants commit fewer crimes than American citizens. Immigration from the country allegedly sending us their rapists has dropped for more than a decade. The number of family units from Central America apprehended at the border has gone up very recently to reach 2014 numbers, but even that number is a significant decline from the 80s, 90s, and 2000s. But anyway, the crisis, sorry. So what I was saying, crisis-wise, there is none. Okay, so maybe it's not a crisis. You know, maybe it's not an emergency. But surely a wall would help, because as the president likes to say, 90% of heroin comes over the border. But he doesn't say the part about how most of it comes through ports of entry, just like migrants. So a wall would actually be useless. Planes go over walls, tunnels go under them. But, as Congressman and SNL funny man Dan Crenshaw points out, nuh-uh, despite the president being told about 2 specific tunnels that day. Live from New York, you're full of shit. But maybe a wall's a good idea to get the immigrants out. Though according to the Pew Research Center, the majority of immigrants are here legally. And Americans aren't aware of that. But here's some more Pews. The majority of Americans don't want a wall. And the president probably knows that because the very idea of the word wall is morphed so many times that it's meaningless. Because, well, if it's not gonna be concrete, maybe it'll be steel. Or maybe it'll be just like some fences here and there, you know? Or maybe we can claim that the reinforcing of an area of fence that already existed is the real wall that we've been talking about, and we did it. And hey, a Border Patrol union's website recently and quietly removed a 2012 statement about what a waste of money a wall would be. But surely that's because now it's a great use of money. And it's not even the whole border. We gotta calm down. As SNL funny man Dan Crenshaw points out, it's not like we want 2,000 miles of wall, you know, despite the president talking about it all the time, and the Republican Party's platform in 2016 explicitly stating it would cover the whole border. But as much as the idea of what a wall even is, and who's going to pay for it, and why we need it, and who's stopping us, have deceptively changed so many times. it's important to remember and remind people that at its core, this is a wall to keep out the Mexican rapists. And a wall, at its core, isn't a great idea. Some people have pointed out that a wall is medieval. The president, of course, utilizing the awesome power of the oatmeal in his skull that got fried after looking directly at an eclipse after being told multiple times not to. Well, the president thinks, sure, walls are medieval, but so are wheels. You know, the wheel, that's even older than walls, citation needed. And I look around, you know, I see cars. I looked out today, I saw cars. Look at them, with wheels. Wheels work, and they're medieval, kinda, you know? So, look at the cars. Walls are good, and we need one to keep out the rapists. Now, first of all, it's important to note that the president has said this thing about wheels multiple times recently. Several times a day, on several days. And there were people there listening to him, on camera, and nobody has laughed in his stupid fucking face about it yet. And dear media and people around him, you can. You can laugh at him, just like you can call him a liar. Why are you still taking him seriously? He's the president, sure, so like, take him seriously. But don't take him seriously. He's a fucking moron. Laugh at him and the dumb shit he says. Enough with this, but sir, I do declare nonsense. Call him a liar when he lies. Be prepared to never speak to him again. Remind him that he's the president and he's a liar and he's dumb and he's wrong and the things he says are dumb and wrong. Or better yet, point out to him that the wall isn't just medieval in the sense of being technologically primitive. Point out, Mr. President, respectfully, you dope, when people say walls are medieval, they're also talking about how it's a medieval way of thinking. It's a medieval idea. All these fucking hungry, desperate people come in with their disease and their animals and murderers and rapists, and you gotta put up a wall so you can't see them anymore. And they're not even there. They're not human beings. They're like animals. You know, because we're being invaded. It's an infestation. We need to build a wall. It's medieval thinking. Like torture or taking out terrorists' families. Dehumanizing outsiders for xenophobic, fear-mongering reasons and scapegoating them for all of your problems. Offering an easy medieval solution to complex modern problems. It's why people show concern when the president calls certain immigrants animals and muddies the rhetoric so he's kind of talking about all immigrants, but has enough plausible deniability to call it fake news. And apropos of nothing, the president's son just likened the wall to cages in zoos, protecting people from animals. And speaking of scapegoating outsiders as a simple solution to complicated problems, racism and stuff. And speaking of racism and stuff, Congressman Steve King, a man standing here on the floor of Congress building a wall prototype in 2006, which we'll get to. Steve King, a man who has been associated with neo-Nazis and white supremacist groups and has had a history of saying racist things and lamenting the destruction of Western civilization and foreigners having your babies and replacing you. Where have we heard that before? Well, that guy, after years of saying the quiet part loud, Congressman Steve King said the quiet part a whole lot real louder than one should need to. And he lamented why we can't use words like white supremacy and white nationalist and protecting Western civilization anymore. And even though a congressman saying he wishes white supremacist wasn't offensive got 5 times less coverage than a congresswoman saying we're going to impeach the motherfucker in reference to a criminal under investigation who also says athletes who protest during a song are sons of bitches who shouldn't be citizens, a president representing a party whose war criminal vice president told a senator on the floor of Congress to go fuck himself. Even though all of that, at least Steve King's comments finally caused some members of the Republican Party and conservative media to say that it is unacceptable. Everything you said before, I'm literally like into white supremacy and white nationalism and shit. Everything before that, I agreed with and support. But now, you literally said the words, so we must finally say something. Yes, even Logic Boy Superfacts Ben Shapiro, after exerting lots of brain pill-fueled energy to dismiss anyone's condemnation of Steve King's comments as lies. And the King is not racist, he's good actually. You know, for calling immigrants dirt who are replacing our babies. Well, once King literally said the words white supremacist and white nationalist, Ben was like, whoopsie, and even added an update to the article where he tried real hard to interpret King's comments to be anything other than, wow, racist. After that, even Ben wrote that King's comments suggest that the first interpretation described below was not as implausible as it seemed at the time. So, congrats on the bravery, Ben. In fact, move over, President Bad President. Here's your award. Do you have an acceptance speech prepared?
I will be honest with you. I thought that Steve King was a dunderhead.
Ah, very good. Here are 2 trophies. Let's check out Ben on the red carpet. Wonderful. So, all these awards flying around, perhaps we can examine why it takes literally saying the words, I'm into like racism stuff, for conservatives to accept reality and say what people have been saying for months or even years. Perhaps some of it has to do with the fact that the proposed policies, language, and resentments don't target or affect you specifically or people like you explicitly. So it's okay until he shouts white supremacy into a megaphone. And perhaps part of it is because your beliefs and your wants and your policies are so close to each other, and what you want and who you support are so similar that surely Steve King can't be racist. Surely your ideas aren't bad or based on lies or racist because you're not explicitly saying I'm a white nationalist. It's hard to grapple with the fact that so many of your ideas and beliefs align so well with self-avowed white nationalists and, historically, fascists. It's why the right is suddenly talking about how, oh, actually, fascism is left-wing and Hitler was a liberal socialist, actually. It's why Facts Boy wrote an article about Obama's slightly self-congratulatory State of the Union address and called it fascist. But when, say, an ideologically inconsistent and unprincipled opportunist capitalizes on an anti-left, anti-feminist, anti-cultural Marxism movement and increased polarization and governmental deadlock and allies with conservative elites and uses the American version of Lügenpresse and focuses on hateful rhetoric about outsiders who must be removed from the country and scapegoated for all of our problems and maybe even puts some of them in camps and talks daily like a maniacal right-wing demagogue. Well, when that person manufactures a fake crisis and considers declaring a state of emergency to use the military to do his bidding, well, that is it's useless and cynical. You know what, Ben? Here are your words again. You did it. These people need to deny, deny, deny until the very last second. Brazil's newly elected demagogue Bolsonaro said he would rather his son be dead than gay. But he didn't say, if I had power, I would kill all the gays. So he's okay. Saying, well, this is very obviously bad is useless and cynical if you're not using this opportunity to examine why you got it wrong, or why you lied. It should make you examine your defenses of Donald Trump, a racist, and Tucker Carlson, a racist. Because Tucker Carlson regularly spouts white nationalist talking points that are almost verbatim what self-avowed neo-Nazis and white nationalists say on camera. Like, diversity is not our strength, immigrants make everything dirty, they carry disease, they commit more crime, they're destroying our culture, English should be our official language, and you need to build a wall, and so on. But Tucker doesn't say and it's because I'm racist. He doesn't say, because I'm a white nationalist, so it's okay. Tucker Carlson had racist Steve King on his show to talk about threats to culture and nationalism and protecting Western civilization and our babies being, you know, had by foreigners to replace us. And Tucker Carlson said he agrees with him and he's probably right about everything. So maybe that should be examined. Maybe Steve, immigrants are dirt king, and Tucker, immigrants make our country dirty Carlson, and Donald, shithole country's Mexican rape wall Trump are similar. Maybe there's a reason racists love them and appreciate them talking about the stuff racists care about. As Donald Trump said about Steve King, next to Steve King, I want to see someone who's going to make our country great again, which is basically the same thing as Steve. Steve is a special guy, a smart person, with really the right views on everything. Their ideologies are so in sync, Trump says, we don't have to compare notes. So let's compare notes. Again, here's Steve King on the floor of Congress building a prototype wall in 2006 to keep out the culture-destroying, baby-stealing animals. This, of course, is years after the decline in illegal immigration began, but whatever. Also, this, of course, will stretch about 2,000 miles, so notes comparable so far. Also, maybe we can add some barbed wire on. As Donald Trump has said,
barbed wire used properly can be a beautiful sight.
Like the beautiful sight of a literal symbol for indifference and cruelty. But wait, there's more. As Steve illustrates, this can be temporary. We can take it down once Mexico gets their act together. You know, we can take it down and
let livestock run through there.
That's weird. But whatever, I don't want to put words in his mouth. He's not comparing human beings to livestock. What else do you want to do to the fence?
We could also electrify this wire with the kind of current that wouldn't kill somebody, but it would simply be a discouragement for them to be fooling around with it. And we do that with livestock all the time.
So we just electrocute them, and it's fine because we do it to animals. That's interesting language. Perhaps wanting to build a wall to keep out animals, like a zoo, because they're diseased rapists, is somehow connected with bad ideas and bad people that we should reject. And this concludes our news segment, but how could we have known? It's okay for the media in this, the year of our Lord 2019, to call the president what he is, a compulsive liar and racist who most of the time doesn't know what he's talking about. Sue me, Donald Trump, you compulsive liar and racist who doesn't know what he's talking about. These are provable claims. But we just let him and people like Steve King weasel out of it. When a congresswoman says Trump is racist, Anderson Cooper asks, how can you say that? In this, the year of our Lord 2019. After his comments were reported, Steve King went on the floor of Congress to say, I denounce neo-Nazis and white nationalism. I'm not a white nationalist. If anything, I'm an American nationalist. I wonder if we could compare notes and look at the president flirting with the idea of calling himself a nationalist at rallies for a month, alluding to the fact that he knows he's not supposed to, and then proudly claiming he is one, and then everyone just accepting it and moving on. Because the media and our politicians are incapable of calling Donald Trump what he is in 2019. Try it out. Maybe do a headline that says, President Trump, a compulsive liar and dumb racist, is completely fabricating a crisis based off dumb racist lies in order to gain power, and he's gradually normalized the idea of a wall to keep out animals, a bad and racist concept. Here's a short film warning America about xenophobic fascist grifters who demonize outsiders as a simple solution to complex problems. And it's literally just stuff Donald Trump says. This shouldn't be hard.
And I have seen what this kind of talk can do. I saw it in Berlin.
Here's a clip of Lindsey Graham, who hates and fears Donald Trump, saying that the president should declare a national emergency to use the military to build a wall in response to a completely fabricated crisis based on xenophobic fear-mongering.
Give immediately emergency powers to the Supreme Chancellor.
Brought it back to the prequels. Nice. Here's our award. Happy New Year! We're back! Thanks for watching that episode. Hope you liked it. If you want to support our show, go to patreon.com/somemorenews. Check out our podcast, Even More News. Look at other links. Click the like button. Do all the stuff that you know helps YouTube know that you liked it. Yeah!